So I know in the past I've mentioned that I watch The Last Drive-In, which is a program on Shudder, and it's hosted by Joe Bob Briggs, who is a drive-in movie critic guy that I grew up watching on Monster Vision on TNT. He also hosted a show on the Movie Channel, but I didn't have the Movie Channel growing up. I would get like the sneak preview every 6 months. You'd get like a free weekend to see it, but so I kind of knew who he was. But if you don't know who he is, he's a really smart dude. He really is like he's a drive-in movie critic, but he sees everything. So he goes to the festivals, or he went to the festivals, and he saw stuff coming up throughout the years of his career. He's also written several books on not only film, but true crime as well. He's just a very, very interesting dude. And so they recently announced that they are no longer doing The Last Drive-In. Shudder has canceled the show. They still have some specials coming up, but they will no longer be doing the show, which was kind of a big blow to me because I'm a fan. So I watched the final episode, and the last movie on The Last Drive-In was The Last Horror Film. That's the title, from 1982, directed by David Winters, and it was starring Joe Spinell.
Yeah, your
And if you've
guy.
been listening to the podcast even remotely over the years, you may have heard me gush over Joe Spinell and just the magnificence of that man. And so he was the star of this movie. I think it was the second and last time he was the lead in a film after Maniac, which is another horror film that he starred in. And he wasn't really like, he's not known really for horror, because if you look at his filmography, it's one of the most amazing filmographies ever. And he just turns up in the most craziest of places. Godfather, Godfather 2, Taxi Driver, Rocky 2. Like, he's all over the map. And then he's in the Ninth Configuration. He's in the castle with the crazies. He's in Sorcerer. He's in the Forbidden Zone. He's all over the map. And it's amazing because he knows everybody. And he's like, he knew everybody. He passed away. He was a super friendly guy, and he had connections all over. So he would just work his way into all these different movies. But the thing with the last horror film is he shot it, he conceived it. He didn't direct it, but he conceived it. And they filmed it at the Cannes Film Festival in, I think, 1980 or 81. He just went there, no script, no real plan, no permits, no nothing. And he just parlayed his way into shooting this film with the Cannes Film Festival as a backdrop. So he plays this aspiring filmmaker who wants to get this horror starlet to be in his movie. And, he lives in New York with his mom, which is true. Joe Spinell lived with his mom in New York, and he drove a taxi. So in the beginning of the movie, he's driving his taxi around, but it looks like really good. Like, it doesn't look like a shitty, low budget thrown together movie. It's really well made. And the fact that he pulled it off and pulled it together like the way that he did, it's just really remarkable on that merit alone. The film itself, if you're not into horror films, is probably not for you. If you are into horror films, it's pretty good, considering all the obstacles that they had ahead of them. But if you're into independent filmmaking, it's pretty amazing. So I kind of enjoyed it on a couple of different levels because I could see what was going on, and I could understand the sacrifice and the trials and tribulations of what it must have taken to get the film done. So I have probably a grander appreciation for it, but I still think that if you like horror films, you should check it out. And if you like independent film or independent filmmaking, it's definitely a little study, like you could learn something from it, and maybe even just get a bit of inspiration as well.
I'll check that out because I'm always looking for old horror movies that I haven't seen. No matter how good or bad they are, it's like, well, let's check this one out. And You might find a gem. You never know. So yeah.
Yeah, and for like showing up without a script and kind of working it out on the fly, like, I've seen worse that had a script going in, that had a plan and a plot and a budget. So to just kind of pull it together, like manifest it, yeah, that's pretty amazing just on that account. So
I have to put it on the list.
For me, this month, the film I'm going to talk about, I see a similarity with the one you just talked about, Pete, because it's not about filmmaking, it's about haute couture. So
mm,
if you want to learn about haute couture, it's the perfect film. The title of it is Couture. It's a French-American film. It came out in February 2026 in France. It's directed and written by a French director called Alice Winocourt. I wanted to watch this film because the main actress is Angelina Jolie, and I was curious to hear her speaking French because every time she makes an interview here, it's always in English. But I know that her mother was French, so I was really curious about it. So the film is about an American filmmaker, Angelina Jolie, who he's hired during the fashion week. And when she arrives in Paris, she learns that she has a breast cancer. So you know why she was hired for this film. I mean, Angelina Jolie, because they wanted to make a parallel with her life.
mhm,
And that's probably something I don't like. I don't like the fact that they used a reality in the actor's life to make it a film. I think it's
mm,
weird. I don't really like this part of the story. And during the film, you have like 3 and even 4 intertwined stories. So you have the American director Angelina Jolie. Then you have the one of the models. She comes from South Sudan, and it's interesting to see her stories because she comes from a very poor country and a country in war, but she actually struggled to be a model, even if she understands that through that she can earn more money and have a better life. She feels so lonely away from her family, and the fact that she doesn't understand how it works in the fashion week and everything, that so you see that she would prefer to be with her family during the war instead of being in Paris for a fashion week. So that's interesting to have this point of view. And the other story you have, it's a French makeup artist, and she's struggled in this industry because it's hard for women in this industry, which is crazy because when you think about it, fashion, you think it's a woman world, but actually it's a business and men world. So it's interesting to see that how she struggles in her situation. Another story is a little bit explained, but for me it's underdeveloped. It's a French tailor that is totally dedicated to creating couture, but she has no recognition from her colleagues. So that's also interesting. So you have 4 destinies struggling in their life, and they work together without really knowing each other, but you have different aspects of what happens in the fashion week. So it's interesting in terms of haute couture, but in terms of films, it's not a life changer. You know what I'm saying? It's something, it was pleasant to watch. There is nothing really wow during the film. I was more impressed about Angelina Jolie speaking French than anything else because, as I said, everything is focused on Angelina Jolie. And as I said, she's just the American director in the fashion week. So I would have been more interested to know about what it is to be a model in this crazy industry, and what is it to work as a makeup artist. And it just they're underdeveloped characters for me. Everything is focused on Angelina Jolie. So if you're a huge fan of Angelina, go for it. Otherwise,
mhm.
yeah, maybe you're gonna get bored, especially if you don't like fashion in general. I'm not sure it's this film is for you, but yeah. I'm not sure you want to watch it now.
You
Yeah.
didn't exactly sell it, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there is another frustrating thing in this film. You have 2 great actors, 2 French actors. I don't know if you know them. It's Louis Garrel and Vincent Lindon, very famous. But as I said, once again, everything is on Angelina Jolie, so you don't really see the other characters. And to have such great actors playing like extras, I think it's frustrating.
So I finally got around to watching Jurassic Park Rebirth, and I had wanted to see this in the theater. You know, I'm a Jurassic Park fan. Buddy of mine told me, "Yeah, I'm disappointed. It wasn't that good. It has some problems." I think he was being kind because I watched this movie, and the movie just feels soulless. It's so hollow. You know, and Gareth Edwards was the director. You know,
Oh,
and
well.
and the script was written by the guy who wrote the first Jurassic Park, David.
David Kep?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, what happened? Every character was unlikable in a different way to a certain degree. And I understand what they're trying to do with Scarlett Johansson's character. You like give her like she's kind of a like, you know, a brash, business-minded type of a person. You know what I'm saying? And then she has this change of heart. But I've seen that done a bunch of times, way better than they pulled off here. There were plot points in the movie that they made you think this is a dire consequence, and then nothing happens when they get to that dire consequence. And I'm like, well, why the fuck did you put like you put this
Yeah.
restraint on yourself and the characters in a certain way? I don't want to spoil it if you want to see it, but you put this restraint out there, and then like when we come into the point where you're like, oh, they're gonna go where they shouldn't be, you know, do what they shouldn't be doing, there's there's no consequence. So I'm like, well, you
Mhm.
just made something up to make it sound intriguing and dangerous, and then zero payoff. And then that one thing for me led to several other problems with the story. I was like, well, if you never would have said that, I wouldn't have been so upset. And so, like, well, what the fuck? Like, just a little bit of confusion. Like, why would you say that thing and then nothing happens? And then it's like, what? So yeah, it just left you. It left a lot to be desired. I mean, obviously the dinosaurs look great. The best sequence for me in the movie was the T-Rex sequence, which I had found out like a couple days ago was originally supposed to be in the first movie. But also, it's like, and you know, and what it felt like, because all the characters were really not interesting. I'm not trying to be mean. They really just weren't interesting. I didn't find myself rooting for anybody. Like, I mean, even though the goal was noble, you know, I just didn't care. And I found myself getting excited when like the Dilophosaurus would pop up or the Raptors. It's like cameos from stars from another movie. And I was like, yeah, I like that dinosaur. And then I didn't give a shit about the rest of it. And like, you know, like if my 13-year-old son looks at me, he's like, do we have to watch the rest of this?
That's rough stuff, man.
I jokingly said to my friend, he's like, so what'd you think? I said, should have been called Jurassic Park Stillborn, because there was no rebirth. It's dead on arrival.
So it was no 65.
No, that's the funny thing. People shit on 65, but I'll tell you, any day of the week, I'll watch 65 over this movie. It's not just that I found it was hollow and a bit soulless, and even Mahershala Ali is in this, and I like him. And he, for me, was probably the best character.
I'm no great fan of Gareth Edwards. I remember when he did Godzilla, I was excited. I was like, sweet, new Godzilla. This is going to be awesome. And I go to the theater, and it was hollow and bland, and like, what the fuck is going on? And like, you know, the performances, what's his face from Bullet Train we talked about, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah.
He was in that, and like that soured me on him for a long time. Like whenever I saw his name in the credits, like, dude, that fucking dude has the personality of a roof shingle. You know, like I can't watch that. And it was clearly, it was the film, it was the filmmaker. It wasn't him. He's just a performer following direction. So I gotta say, like, I'm, you know, once you said Gareth Edwards, like, oh shit, yeah, that explains a lot. Like, you know, and I know he did Rogue One, and I really didn't give a shit about that fucking movie because it was just a disposable adventure. We already know that goddamn story if you saw the first 5 minutes of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not really that surprised. And even David kept being involved. It's like, okay, well, yeah, but like, what, you know, they're notorious for rewriting. So I wonder what his original submitted draft was. So I'm gonna probably say it was the director's fault. But next week we got a very engaging conversation about the 10 Commandments coming up. So I hope everybody who's watching and listening comes on back to check out that conversation. And if you haven't seen the VHS, please head over to our YouTube channel and check it out and subscribe. Until next time, those are the coming distractions for this month.